Hey everybody, my name's Ben and today I'm going to explain everything you need to know about how to customize and test out guns in Delta Force in order to help you make your own OP loadouts. If you do end up making a great gun loadout that you want to show off, then drop it as a comment in the video description below and I'll go through the highest rated ones and try them all out. So first up, let's jump into the firing range, which is a great place to start configuring any gun. You can either go to your menu and go to Gunsmith and select any gun here, click modify, and then at the bottom left you get the button for firing range. Click that, you'll go straight through to the firing range with the gun you've selected. Alternatively, you can just walk there from your black site. If you go through the tactical warfare unit door here, then just follow this around to the left and you go through these doors here and you can enter the firing range that way. There's a few handy little tips, tricks, and secrets for the gun range itself. We'll come to those a little bit later in the video, but first I'll just show you how we can customize a gun and explain some of the stats that you might want to focus on. So to spawn yourself a gun in here, you can just press tab to bring up this menu, click in one of these slots here and select a gun you want to use. Now you can select any gun you like here. You don't have to have unlocked this gun. You don't have to own this gun. It's not going to automatically buy it. So for example, we could go and select the AWM if we wanted and select equip on that. It's going to get it straight out and then we could go ahead and shoot some targets. That's not going to buy the gun for you, it just lets you test it out here. But what we're going to do here is get rid of this gun and select something a little bit more normal to start off with. We'll go over to the rifles tab and just grab something maybe slightly unusual, the K4 for example. And if we click equip, that's going to take us straight back to the gunsmith as you saw here. But if we actually want to modify this, you click modify from that previous page, or once we press tab here, you can hover over it and press F and that will take us to the modification page. What this then allows us to do is add attachments to this gun by clicking on these different positions here. See muzzle, for example. If I click here, I can attach whatever attachment I want, and they have different effects on the stats. You can see here we've got damage, range, control, handling, stability, and accuracy. They're going to get affected by the different things we put on the gun. And it gives you a bit of a summary at the top and also mentions other things like high gunshot suppression isn't really covered by those stats we just mentioned. So some suppressors we can see are better than others in terms of suppression. This one has weak gunshot suppression. This one has high gunshot suppression. Once we click install, that's going to put that onto this gun for the time being. But in order to decide what attachments you want to put on a gun, you need to know what the different stats actually mean. So if we click view details here, brings up this other page, shows us those core attributes there. If I tick or untick this initial attributes box, it puts a little white line showing what the base stats of the gun are, and then my line above it is what we've changed. So by putting the suppressor on, you can see that we've increased control, but we significantly reduced handling. You can get much more detail on these stats on top of the armor pen, fire rate, and stuff it tells you here. If you scroll down and go to details, then you get this page here, and this explains everything in much more detail. So damage isn't really directly affected by many things, but what is affected is your range, and your range is the range at which your gun will do that stated damage. And over that range, say if it's a 25-meter range, once you go over 25 meters, you will start to get damage drop off from your shots. And that's what this is showing here. We got 29 meters. After 29 meters, it's going to drop down. And you can see it's going to go down below 80% of your normal damage once you're over about 60 meters here, 70 meters. It also shows you the damage to different parts of the body. There's 55 points of damage to a headshot, 29 to the torso, and then different amounts of damage to the limbs as well. You see you do significantly reduced damage when hitting limbs of enemy players. The main ones to look at though are control, handling, stability, and accuracy, and each of these pages will tell you the difference between the base stats and what you have currently selected. So I've just thrown a bunch of attachments onto this at random, and let's run through what each of these means. Control is basically your recoil control. It affects your horizontal, vertical recoil control, your firing stability, and you can see the effect of that on the little diagram on the right hand side of the page here. We've got your initial spray and then a spray with the current modification showing that slightly tighter recoil pattern. Handling covers your ADS speed, your reload time, your time to draw weapons, how fast you can move whilst ADSing, and things like that, sort of secondary stats. Stability affects the stability of your shots, generally whilst aiming down scopes. So if you're sniping, if you're aiming down sights and doing a longer spray, it's going to affect things like how much holding breath reduces that sway, the stability of your shots whilst moving, your hit flinch multiplier, and also how long you can hold your breath as well. Accuracy affects the tightness of your shots when hip firing. You can see the diagram on the right shows us the spread of the hip fire when stationary, when walking and running at maximum speed, your maximum spread whilst firing. So a very general way to break this down is that handling and accuracy are particularly useful for SMG and close quarters weapons. Gives you a very quick ADS speed, it gives you good hip fire accuracy, it gives you good reload time, good time into ADS from moving, and then control and stability are generally going to be useful for AR spraying, for sniping, for stuff like that. When you need good recoil control on an AR that you're going to be spraying at targets, maybe at a medium to longer range, as well as stability down your sights when firing at enemies. So as we go through and put different attachments onto the gun, you're going to see the plus and minus points of it. There's obviously attachments that are rated in rarity order. So purple it starts is the highest rarity you can get here. If we go down the bottom, we're going to find the cheaper green ones with a much smaller effect, control +2. And as we go up, you're going to notice more and more significant effects, but you're also going to sometimes notice them have quite significant negative effects. So you have to balance what you're trying to focus on and what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the particular gun you're using. You can see the K4 starts with pretty good all-round stats, but if we were looking to buff control, then we could look through these different ones here and see what is going to affect that. +6 handling is pretty nice. We don't really want to drop our stability though, but we could find something like this, for example, gives us +6 control with no negative attributes. Again, if we jump into the compensator, you can see there's lots of plus and minuses here. If we want to get control up nicely, we could use this suppressor. It is going to affect handling quite a lot, which affects ADS speed. If we didn't want to affect that too much, we could put on a compensator like this one. +9 control is massive. Obviously, you're not going to have suppression then, so you're going to get heard much more easily, but it does give you really good control. If we chuck a stock kit on this as well, got one option here. You lose stability, but you get a big buff in other stats. It's very expensive, so this is not going to be a cheap loadout. But you can see here, if we go back to our stats page now, the control has gone up massively. Handling has gone up quite a chunk as well. Stability is down slightly, and accuracy is up a little bit as well. What you can then do if you want to customize things further is you can go to the Calibrate tab, and on here you're going to get options of certain attachments that you can actually calibrate further than their default settings. For example, if I go to the barrel here, we can actually change the length of the barrel to make it shorter or longer, and that's going to affect different stats. See on the left hand side here, if I decrease the barrel length, that's going to give us plus ADS speed but minus muzzle velocity. If I go the opposite direction, it will have the opposite effect. Same again at the top, weight limit. If we bring the weight down, that's going to give us plus ADS movement speed at the cost of firing stability. So we'll just leave those like that as an extreme example. And you can do the same thing on your optics as well. You can change your optic zoom here to make it zoom slightly in or out, and even affect your pupil distance from the scope itself. There's lots of things you can tweak here. It's up to you what you want to do with them, but if there's something you want to just focus on a little bit, it's a nice way to increase things like ADS speed or a chunk of extra stability whilst breathing. You can see here you can get quite a big effect on that. And once we've done those, you can see they're marked as yellow. You can click show calibration effect here and see all of those effects down at the bottom. Now if we want to test out this gun, we can just click escape, and we'll go back to the gun range and we'll be able to just fire this gun straight away here. You can see it's pretty easy to control just from a very quick sort of made up gun loadout here, because we put some very, very expensive attachments on it. And if you want to go back and modify it, we just go back here, press F, and we can pull up this page again. If you want to save a loadout or see what the total cost or value of this loadout is, click the loadout tab up here. It's going to tell you the value, 372,000 at the moment based on current market prices of these attachments. If we wanted to save this gun, just click save in the bottom right, give it a name and select a slot and click save, and then that loadout is going to be saved for you to just select whenever you want. It also has these recommended loadouts we could try if we wanted. We could do apply loadout on this 400, 500k version here, click apply on that. Press escape again, and we can try this one out instead. You can see this one, ridiculously easy to control, but it costs $500,000, so you kind of expect that. And again, we can go back to modify, go back to loadout, and then we can find the one that we just created and save. If you want to import or export or share a loadout, you can click import against a loadout here, and then you get these two options. If you go to share loadout, it will give you this code. You can copy and paste these and share these with other players. Then just paste this code into import loadout, click OK or search, and then that's going to bring that loadout in for you to try out. The last tab here is the appearance tab, and this is where you're going to apply any gun skins that you might have found or unlocked during the game, as well as charms you can put on your guns. So now you know how to configure your guns and what stats to be looking for. I'll just show you quickly how the gunsmith works. There's a few things you might not realize at first. You have these default targets here. There's 4 of them going along. You can actually configure where these are standing and what armor they have. If you go up to these little computers, we can give these guys some armor, give them a little hat and some sort of ridiculous vest. And then we can actually make it so that first target is 99 meters away. Click save, and all of a sudden he's now down there wearing this lovely little hat. If we want to bring him forward, we just go to F and we can bring him to 0 meters, and suddenly he's standing right here for us to shoot. As you can tell, these bullets aren't doing very much to that vest, so if you want to change your ammo type, just press tab to bring up this menu here. You see the different ammos here. You click on one of those, and then you just need to click equip as well. So if we put these gold rounds on, click equip, and then now that's going to drop very, very quickly. If you press L, then it's going to open and close this menu in the top left. You can see it says my damage, armor damage, stuff like that. If I hit O, then that's going to reset, and that's quite useful because if I want to test out armor and damage and pen and stuff, I can fire one shot here and you can see it's going to update. I've done 20 HP damage there and 35 armor damage. One more shot. So it's quite a nice way of figuring out how pen and stuff works exactly with bullets in this game. And you can do this with each of these targets here, so we can actually make them all come and stand really close with different armor on. Give this guy the fancy helmet. We could give him extra HP. We put numbers display on is pretty useful as well, so when we shoot you see the damage numbers pop up. And you can do this with all 4 targets here, so you could have them set up with different armor and gradually move along and test out how many shots to kill, how many shots to break a vest with different targets and different armor. Again, you can test the damage drop off. You can see if we shoot this guy here, it's done 29 damage. If we shoot one of these far away targets, you can see it does much less damage. Because of that damage drop off, we're firing over our effective range here. As well as these targets, you can also do the same with the stationary target here. It basically works exactly the same, except it's not on rails. You go up to this little computer here. We can turn numbers off and on, affect the target HP, and select armor that we want this one to wear. And then you can shoot it in the same way, and it's going to give you the damage numbers and eventually fall over and then pop back up. So that's everything for today. If you want to get an idea of some great gun builds to try out, please check out my other videos on that topic. Like I said, if you've got a great loadout you want to share, then post it in the comments down below with the code, and I'll have a look at some of the highest rated ones and try them out. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Ben, we are the Beard Guys, and I'll see you next time.